In a rural valley in Mexico, there's this tourist hub you would just never, ever expect. It's not just a bunch of water parks. No, it's the heart of this incredible story about how a surprising natural resource became this powerful engine for building a community, literally from the ground up.
And that, right there, brings us to the big question we're digging into today. What actually happens when the people who live in a place are the same people who own and profit from its main attraction? Well, the answer, as we're about to find out, is pretty amazing.
Okay, so first things first, let's set the scene. We're headed to a region that, on the surface, seems like the last place on Earth you'd build a water park, let alone a whole string of them. So, picture this, the Valle del Mezquital, in the state of Hidalgo. For most of its history, this has been a really rural area, totally defined by agriculture and a pretty quiet way of life. It's the kind of place you'd connect more with farming than with, giant water slides and lazy rivers.
But this valley has a secret weapon, an ace up its sleeve. See, deep underground, there's a ton of natural thermal water, often bubbling up at over 36 degrees Celsius. That's a super toasty 97 degrees Fahrenheit. You combine that with these absolutely stunning natural features like the Tolantongo Caves, and suddenly, the region had something no one else did.
But the hot water and the pretty caves, that's only half the story. The real shocker, and honestly the key to this whole thing, is who actually owns and runs these super successful businesses.
You know how big-time tourism usually works, right? Some giant corporation from way outside comes in, builds a resort, and most of the money gets shipped back to a headquarters somewhere far, far away. The Mexico model? It flips that script completely. Here, the parks are owned by the locals, the profits get plowed right back into the town, and the big decisions are made by the very people who live there.
So how does that work in practice? Well, the parks are set up as different kinds of corporations or societies, but what really matters isn't the legal name, it's who's inside them. Tons of small local entrepreneurs. In a lot of cases, the owners are also the ones working there. And get this, the leadership isn't picked by some corporate board, it's elected by everyone in community assemblies.
Believe it or not, there's a fancy academic term for this, endogenous local development. I know, it sounds complicated, but the idea is actually super simple. It's just development that starts from the inside and works its way out. It's all about a community using its own stuff and its own people to innovate and build a better life, without having to rely on outsiders.
And because the owners are the community, their goals are so much bigger than just making money. For them, this is about way more than just a swim. And this just shows you the difference in a nutshell. Take a look at this example from El Tefia Park. A full 20% of profits are automatically shared with its 300-plus members who are all part of the local community. This isn't some end-of-year bonus, it's baked right into their business model. It's just how they do things.
And that investment just keeps going. The parks make it a priority to hire locals. We're talking over 90% of the staff comes from right there. They donate money to schools and festivals, they fund scholarships and medical care for residents, and they've even given up their own land for public projects, like a new rehab center.
Now, this all sounds really great, but you have to ask, does it actually work? Well, let's look at the economic ripple effect because, frankly, the numbers are just staggering.
This timeline shows a complete transformation of the valley's economy. Back in 1950, it was all farming, all the time. But just look at that jump between 1990 and 2010. That period, which lines up perfectly with the water park boom, saw the service industry totally explode to employ about half of the entire working population. So what was the engine behind that incredible shift? This number right here. By 2010, the parks were pulling in 1.7 million visitors every single year. Just try to imagine that scale of tourism in a quiet, rural area. And all those people, they brought in a whole lot of revenue. Just from admission fees alone, we're talking an estimated 150 million pesos pouring directly into these community-owned businesses every year.
But here's what that money really means. Jobs. It created over 690 direct, stable, year-round jobs for local people, and that number could easily double during the busy season.
And the impact didn't just stop at the park gates. Oh no. Check out this ripple effect. When El Tefia Park first opened up, there were maybe 5 little businesses nearby. 20 years later, that number skyrocketed to around 200.
We're talking restaurants, souvenir shops, hotels, a whole ecosystem of local businesses just popped up around it.
But you know, it's not just about the money. It's about the quality of life. When local entrepreneurs were asked to rate how their community was doing, their answers just soared. What they rated a 3 out of 10 back in the early 90s, they were rating an 8 out of 10 by 2010. They could actually feel the positive change.
So, after seeing all of this, you really have to wonder, is what's happening in the Valle del Mezquital a whole new model for how tourism could work?
So here are the big takeaways. This story proves that tourism can be an incredibly powerful tool for development that really truly comes from the ground up. Keeping the ownership local makes sure the money stays local, and that, in turn, fuels more investment and strengthens the whole social fabric of the place, creating this powerful sense of identity and shared success.
It really leaves you with a question to think about for your next trip, right? Instead of just recharging your own batteries, what if your vacation could help build an entire community?